Good morning, class. Once again, welcome to LA Chess Club Intermediate class. Your teacher this morning, National Master Ruben Ondangan. And today I would like to focus on the middle game part. A part in the game of chess that a lot of books actually not pay attention so much. There are so many books written about the opening and quite a few about the end game, but there's no definitive work on the middle game, except probably the books of Dvoretsky and Jeremy Silman. Other than that, it's like a walk in the dark for the rest of us. What to do in the middle game, right? So I would like to mention in passing the importance of pictures in the middle game. There is what we call the static picture and the dynamic. The static is you play the middle game according to the pawn structure. The dynamic is you play according to the demand of the position. So which one is better? But we have to understand both of them. Here, I would like to show you a game that I played in here in LA Chess Club during the PD, one of the rare PD rated tournaments here. This was on January 29, 2011. If I drew or win this game, I will make master. That's why I made master in this club. And my opponent is not an easy opponent, Willis Kim. So I would like you to show this game. And I said I will just try to play quiet positional chess. What we call the no ambition. There we go. Sometimes when you are modest in the game of chess, you don't see the unexpected results. So this is what happened. E4, C5. I was white, knight f3, and d6. This is the beginning part. Now, I've known Willis for so long. I've known that he's a dragon player, and he's probably very respectable with this line here in Southern California. He played it very well, even against top players. So what to do against this guy if you enter the dragon formation? I don't like to battle opponents that can blitz their first dozen or so moves without thinking. I want them to think. All right, so here, the natural move is d4. All right, we enter the open Sicilian, and then after that, we will expect what we called knight f6, knight c3, and here we will see ourselves with a dragon. Very dangerous for white if you don't know what you're doing, and it's so easy to play for black. And so I said I have no intention of playing Willis on his pet opening. So, anybody guess what I played in this position? C3. Bishop b5 check is playable. C3. This is here, by the way. C3 is playable. Bishop b5 check.
How about knight c3?
Knight c3. Those are the moves. The one bishop c4 is also playable.
Maybe g3.
G3. I don't think that's logical because you already have a, but it's playable as well. So B3 is also playable, and what we call anti-dragon formation. C4 is like you're really asking trouble in the D4 square. So here I apply what I call the static approach. I will just play according to pawn structure. And I played d3. Yeah, very tame, very unambitious, no ambition at all, and very modest move. I called it interesting. Played knight c6. Okay, the plan for black is so easy. Just control d4 and the dark square, and he should be fine. However, the effect of the d3 costs Willis some thinking time. And that means he has to recall what are the rudiments in the position, the nuances, right, the subtlety, and it requires time to understand the need, what type of formation should black have in this type of opening. So knight c6, I played g3. Like what I told you, it's unassuming. There's really no ambition for white to win the game, and just happy to hold the position, draw. Anyway, the title of master is at stake here. If I draw or win, I'm a master. If I lose, I will take another year, another time to. And Willis, several times, I believe he's almost one time 4 points away from
Yeah.
being a master.
And he just,
And then he lost, and then he dropped again. It's so hard to make it 2200. When you're climbing, somebody will pull you down. So I said, this guy is not going to pull me down today. So G3, G6. Okay, here, very clear intention for black. Control of the dark square. C5, D6, knight C6, and then bishop G7. We call it dark square strategy. Bishop G2, bishop G7, castle. Now, if you are paying attention to openings, this is a mirror version, or what we call reverse chess strategy. White is trying to play the King's Indian, the opposite, the other color around, right? This is like King's Indian with opposite colors. I'm playing the King's Indian as white. Normally, the King's Indian is as black, but this is played by white. So we call this in literature as the King's Indian, not defense, but attack. KIA. KIA. Okay? Reverse chess strategy. If it works for black, it should be better for white. That kind of concept, right? So a lot of players who like to play, for example, G6 as black, they like to play it as white. If it works for me when I'm black, maybe I'll play it with white. So everybody start playing G3. Right? And stuff like that are very important in chess. After castle, knight f6. Okay. Black is more in harmony with the position. I still have problems with my 2. Where should this knight go and why? Now if I play knight c3, we are entering not anymore the King's Indian attack, but it's called the closed Sicilian. I want to maintain the playboard of the KID here as white. So knight bd2. The idea of knight c4, a4, positional approach with regards to the static picture of the position, that is the pawn structure. Okay, the static is you build up your home, your house, your foundation of your position. The dynamic is then it follows. When you have a good position, then the dynamics of the game will show up. Okay? Somebody said that tactics abound when you have a good position. Don't expect tactics to show up when your position is bad. Right? So you have to lay down the foundation first. There you go. Any question? Everybody clear with the static and dynamic approach in the chess game? We're now close to the middle game stage. I'll show you. Okay, knight bd2, castle. Okay, black is prepared, everything completed, the development, call it the principle of opening play was achieved by black in a more harmonious way compared to white. But the position is deceptive. Here, we have to look at the intricacy of the position. What is the idea of the previous move, knight bd2? That is to pose a knight here and create an outpost for this knight that controls the e5 square. However, the immediate knight c4 will be met by b5, and the knight has to go back, find a better place. So, with regards to that idea, we have to play a prophylactic move, a4, to preserve the c4 square for our knight. Everybody got that? Prophylaxis. Okay. Rook b8. Knight c4. Okay, the contour of the position is taking shape. The battle is now at the center. Black, on the other hand, is creating some kind of queenside activity here with the plan of a6 and maybe b5. The rook on b8 and the bishop g7 create what we call an attack on the b2 square, the geometry in the chessboard, right? That's very important. So Willis is playing very logical chess. It's very strong. This is 6 years ago. So that time is very strong already, but you know, I have my passion to win this game, so or draw at least. Rook b8, knight c4. He played knight g4. Now, what is the idea of knight g4? Not just unmasking the bishop on g7. There's something much more.
So go to E5.
Guard the e5 to
No, I agree.
he understands the importance of these two knights controlling the central square, and the activity of these two knights could spell disaster for black. Therefore, he wants to exchange the pair of knights and still maintain control of the dark squares in behalf of the bishop on g7. So here, class, it's very important that you pinpoint your opponent's active pieces and try to exchange their active pieces and leave you with a good piece or much more active piece. So this is a good move, actually. h3. Now, to avoid the exchanges, I could possibly play knight h4 here, so that when he arrives knight e5, then I keep avoiding the exchanges in knight e3. That was I just realized that later on that the plan seems possible, and now I have f4, and you see the knight will be sent back to d7, and
Well, he could play H5.
right, h5. How to play h5 here? There's no time. For example, this was the last move. My move here in the position was h3. I only realized later on that I can play this interesting knight sortie to the edge of the board
And then knight F,
with the idea of, for example,
knight G5.
if knight g5 is knight e3, and now f4 is coming. If h5, h3 first before f4. And you will see that the knight will will find it hard to activate because it's going back to d7. So these are very good prophylactic moves. The game is filled with so much prophylactic. However, I immediately chase the knight. Probably not very accurate. Knight g5. So I have to I captured knight takes e5. How does black recapture here if you're black?
I would say
With the knight, of course. Knight takes, saying that, okay, let's exchange forces. And here, I want to keep as many men alive because a dead soldier cannot create any threats. So, 93. Very good. Went back, knight c6, preventing f4 to avoid the tempo loss.
How about C3?
c3, very good, Mitch. The idea is to prevent the knight jumping to d4 and neutralize the bishop on g7. We still are playing in the static, applying the static approach in chess, playing according to pawn structure. This is pawn structure chess. Yet we're not yet in the dynamic part. Okay, so the pawn structure is you're laying down the foundation of your chess game. You're making sure that every important point is covered, protected, supported, right? Secured. This kind of things. So after c3, you lash out with b5. He's the first one who introduced the dynamics in the position. However, I don't think he is ready for this. Maybe a6 first to prepare b5, because it's not the opening of the b file that is the plan for black here. It is using this pawn as a wedge to remove all the blockade for dark square bishop. However, this pawn here stops it. Therefore, I believe a6 is much more stronger. So you can play b5. How? Right? Question? Go ahead. Instead, b5 immediately. And so it gives white, he has the open b file, I have the open a file. Okay? Rook takes. This is the position.
You could play F4 with the idea of E5.
Very good. f4 with the idea of e5 and f5. That is the idea of f4. F means forward. Alright, so f4. Now, his next move is hard to understand because this was the threat, right? This was your threat to attack the unattended knight. The proper approach probably here is either bishop b7, bishop d7, even queen c7 or queen b6. This should be fine. But the queen move will create a threat of knight d5. So I have to take that out. So you were left with either bishop b7 or bishop d7. Right? But then he said he start feeling the initiative is turned, the dynamics of the position is turning towards white.
Yeah, but you're going to lose the a7 pawn. You're going to take the knight anyway with the bishop and take the a7.
So how to deal with this threat of e5 and guard this a5? Here, Will has found a solution, a temporary one. However, it has some problem, or what we call it has holes in the analysis. He played knight a5. Okay, blocking the knight, I mean the rook in the a file. Introducing probably c4 later on. Placing a knight on b3 to attack the bishop and the rook.
Why can't you play yeah.
Okay, what should you play here? This is a mistake.
I like it.
How to find a way to punish your opponent's mistake. Okay?
More b4.
You find a way to remove the threat in the position. And once you're
Bishop c6.
you have to recognize when a mistake is made. Here, the red flag is when your opponent play a knight on the edge of the board.
F5?
It should give you an idea. I don't think that's a correct move. Bringing the piece from this controlling the center, going away from the center. Normally, it's not a good idea in chess. So you have to figure out here, class, how to take advantage of this knight on the edge.
F5?
Okay, tactics. Now we are in the dynamic. We play now according to the demands of the position or the dynamics. Queen a4.
Oh,
Does work. Because I'm thinking, all right, so you attack, but if the bishop goes to d7, what are you going to do?
Very good. Bishop d7. It's all the way here that Miss Willis was analyzing. He said, I have bishop d7 here, so black is fine. But now comes
C4?
c4,
Getting a piece.
right? You stop at bishop d7. Even Mitch stopped at bishop d7. He said black should be fine here. But sometimes you have to go further in your analysis.
You can.
If you can.
That's
If you are able to, okay?
That's why you're a master, but not a grandmaster.
Yeah, there you
You
go.
gotta stop here.
I have to stop on a certain number of moves. But here, everybody stop on bishop d7 and say evaluated black is okay. But no, you have to look further. So now we will win a piece, but even that is tactically, there's probably a problem here. After c4,
Rook takes b2.
knight takes c4.
You win the 8 pawn now.
We have to capture the knight first before we get the a pawn.
With the pawn or with the queen?
Pawn?
The knight. The pawn. With the pawn to keep the double attack on the rook.
Yeah.
Now rook takes b2. So that was his tactics. The unmasking of the bishop on d7.
Bishop takes rook is not bad.
Bishop takes rook, you lost the queen.
Yes, and then bishop takes bishop. And he's got to save the other rook, and then you can take the other bishop.
I don't know. I like to live with women, not without them. Life without queens is kind of sad. And so queen takes pawn is better. Queen takes pawn.
Now you're a piece up for a pawn. A lot better.
And
No, he got pawn too.
he can play rook takes g2
Two pawns.
with check. And then after king takes, you have bishop takes, and that will be a very imbalanced position. Let's see what's going to happen. Bishop takes, queen takes. Now let's evaluate what happened to the position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, actually, just a piece down. You play knight g4.
We're up. We are up a piece in this
The
position,
knight that you took.
and the knight can go d5, right?
That should be a win.
This is a win. We have a lot of ideas. So this should. He doesn't like the position, so he kept the rook, and kept the bishop. He said, "I'm not going with that."
No, thank you.
No, thank you. So he went rook b4.
Pawn that.
Discover attack on the rook. Attacks the pawn on c4. So after rook b4, where should you go?
Queen A5.
You can play e5.
Let's see.
This looks good
No.
because after pawn takes, we have this.
Oh. Wah, wah, wah.
A very dangerous spin. However, I didn't see that idea, so
Oh.
forgive me for. So I didn't see it. I said, let me. It's kind of muddy there. I went rook a2 instead. That was a perfect move. e5, right?
Double X.
So rook a2. Now he has a chance to pin the knight. Bishop d4. Where should you go when your opponent pins you? Get out of the pin immediately.
King H2.
King h2. So we can guard the other 2 pawns. The king h2. Bishop takes. He surrender his bishop for the sake of.
But he gives up the bishop pair.
He gives. Yep. He surrender so he can gain another pawn.
Oh.
And as a compensation, if there's any, he said, at least I have a pass c pawn.
But then you play E5 now.
e5 again is better. This time I played it correctly. e5.
Yay.
Because now, if pawn takes, the other rook can go here, or the rook on f1 can go
So
to
you have two options after.
d1. The bad location of the queen and the bishop plus the strong queen on the 7th rank allows e5 to really work well for white. So, played bishop e6. After bishop e6,
Threatening rook takes. No, not threatening rook takes.
the discovery. So we get out again of the. In the middle game, you use the tools of your trade: pins, forks, discover check, and double attack. Okay?
To d2.
Skewers too.
Rook to
So get out immediately of pins and discover attack. Rook d2. Played rook c3, attacking the bishop. Here, bishop f2 is good enough.
How about bishop takes c?
Oh yeah, bishop takes C5. No,
And if
take-
rook takes, queen takes,
That
pawn
doesn't
takes,
work.
rook takes. Oh,
That doesn't work.
Doesn't
Rook
oh,
work.
you
takes
just come out
back.
even.
Yeah.
You lose your piece back.
And then now you don't.
So I played rook e1. I just brought my rooks into dark square because my opponent have
a light square.
a light square bishop. So it's always a good strategy to stay out of range of your opponent's sphere of influence. Okay, rook e1, rook to e8. Now we see the formation of the rook, both on the center of the board, plus the queen on the 7th rank, plus the 2 bishop. It should be a win immediately. It's just a matter of time. And here, it's where technique will reveal how to wrap up the game and win a one game. That's the hardest part every time in the game of chess, how to win a one game, okay? Because your opponent will not give up without any resistance.
Bishop C6. Bishop
So,
And just put the rook back to f8.
bishop c6 is playable. I guess any move here should win. But what is this rook doing so deep in enemy territory? We should find a way to
eject it.
with
Queen a1.
Queen a1. Now look here, class. We are now eyeing the absence of the dark square bishop creates dark square problem around the enemy king. And you have a dark square bishop with the combination of the queen. You are now dreaming of a dark Christmas for him. Bishop. Okay.
Taking the bishop with the rook.
Yeah, if that, if there's nothing else to do, yes, he should do it.
You got a rook for 2 pawns.
Correct. So Queen A1.
But the position is lost. But you have
Where to go? Where to go? He could go B3 or Rook C4. He played Rook C4.
No,
I don't think this is a good move.
Rook B3.
It's playable as
Now
well.
you can just take the pawn.
Bishop takes. That's the idea of queen A, because you force the rook to go only in one square. Forcing moves are very nice. Rook C4.
Now you play bishop f1.
Bishop F1 should already win,
E5 and trade.
right? Instead, if Bishop F1, for example, what's going to happen?
And then if he goes to e4, then you take.
That should enough to win the game. Rook E4, Bishop takes C5.
Rook takes.
Yes. So Bishop F1 should win immediately. Instead, I capture pawn here because the idea of my previous move is to create a dark square weakness on the enemy king. Okay, D takes, so E takes D6. And now, based on those idea, what we call the dynamic approach in a game, the demand of the position, your next move should be always connected from your previous move. You cannot play random chess and say, oh, I think this is better. You're missing the plan. You're playing according to plan. You stick with the plan. You maintain the plan. So here, the plan based 2 moves ago, Queen A1, to create threats on the king's dark area.
F5.
F5, very good. You follow through the plan. You see the plan? The plan of Queen A1? You just follow through. You don't play random chess move. They need to constitute a real plan. Okay? So F5. What happened if he captures with the bishop?
Then bishop h6.
Bishop H6. Is there a defense?
No. 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 Is there?
He play F6.
Rook takes c8.
Rook takes, Queen takes F6, and it's all over. Okay? So he can't capture with the bishop.
He can capture with the pawn, but there's still no defense.
However, that's what he did. He captured with the pawn. And see now the dark square weakness.
Now you play
Bishop-
bishop h6.
No. I should have played the bishop H6. Instead, I played what we call the principle of 2 weakness. The weakness number 1, the king side, darkness on the king side. And the second weakness is the D6 now that is backward. Alright. So bishop F4 first. Trying to tie down my opponent. Play D5.
Now bishop h6.
Bishop H6, but there's D4.
Oh. Take the pawn then.
Take the pawn. Very good. Bishop takes D4. Because now, bishop takes D5, I mean. If he captures with the bishop, what's going to happen?
You can play.
Bishop H6.
That's over.
Leave everybody hanging.
You can also play rook takes d5.
Right? You can also play rook takes D5. No, there's not. Everybody's hanging here. Correct? So he cannot play bishop takes D5. Instead, this bishop is a menace for him. Rook takes F4. G takes. Then bishop takes D5.
Rook g1.
But now comes
Rook g1 check.
rook G1 check. Anything else?
Rook takes e8. No, rook takes d5.
Rook takes D5. There we go. Look at that.
Hanging pieces.
Yeah, because it made. It's made.
It's mate. So,
It's all over. You're down a rook.
and you can see Willie's face shaking. His face turns red, and
He always does.
he always does that. So, you guys like this game? Okay. So, any question on the static and dynamic features in the middle game? One of the subjects that is not really, spoken or dealt with in chess literature.
Since you were playing for no worse than a draw as white.
That's what I call
It was a lot easier.
to play for a win.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Sometimes when you try to be careful, you get punished for being careful because your opponent is just playing like no care, throwing everything, throwing caution to the wind. So, any question? Dynamic pictures and static picture of the position.
Nice solid game.
Middle game principle. Okay, what are the principles in the opening?
Good development.
Control the center, develop your pieces rapidly, and castle into safety. And the middle game, we have what we call the static feature and dynamic. And you always consider the threats, the captures, the checks. And don't forget the knight moves. The knight moves are so tricky. How many people just lost their game in missing this knight jumping from this place to another. Okay? Okay, we go to the second game while I'm arranging the